Hello and welcome back from Spring Break 101. This is a special lecture because I'm going to try to change the organizational structure of the class a little bit going forward. The department always does module-based, not always, but they often were doing module-based essays, so each essay would be one module. In my other college, we do weekly-based modules, so meaning every week a new module is put up. Week 12 is what we're at now, depending upon how you count the off week. And so I'm going to start going forward putting up a new module every week, meaning from week 12 on, up until now, you've been looking at Essay 1 module, Essay 2 module. Now we're just going to go week to week so that each announcement will have the weekly assignment in it. So you go to announcements, as you always have, to find out what's happening that week, but you also then can go directly to the module on your homepage and look for that assignment. I'm also going to be starting something, hopefully, that will help you. It's called How Do I Do This Assignment? And I will go through every assignment that you have with a screenshot lecture like this, and hopefully that will give you some of the support that you'll need in this time of kind of fluctuating classes and fluctuating educational demands. And I don't want you to feel like you're unsupported at any of the time. So let's start out with how do I do the comparison contrast essay. Well, the Norton Field Guide does a great job of letting you know the background for research and a little bit of background on comparison and contrast. It does not give the detail about how to organize the paper, but it does give you an idea of how to put together similarities, each in a body paragraph, or differences, each in a body paragraph. I do not have us do both comparison and contrast in a single essay because those essays are a little bit longer, and I didn't think you'd want to go 5 to 7 pages quite yet. So I'm asking you to concentrate in this essay on just comparison or contrast. So, along with this is a PDF version from a Bridge textbook that I've been working out of. It is more structural in the way you will put together your point-by-point comparison. It tells you each topic sentence needs to have both, in this case, technologies referred to, and whether there is a similarity being expressed in this paragraph or a contrast being expressed in this paragraph. And then you are not going to talk all that you can about one technology and then all you can about the other. You're going to bring out a specific point of technology in one, and then you'll talk about that same specific point in another, either through talking about how they're similar. Both are based in, for example, computer machine language. So both have a similar language that they're using. Or that one is programmed in an adaptive AI situation and the other is programmed in a simple machine language code. That would be a contrast. But don't tell me everything you can about one technology and then expect me to figure out what the comparison is in each case as I go to find out what the other technology is about. That's not what we're trying to do. We're trying to find specific things that you can find similarities or differences in. There was another college that I liked the way they talked about comparison and contrast assignments. I thought it was an interesting thing for you to at least look at. This and this are the most important things to writing the paper. This is something that will give you an idea of how to, I think, be a little bit more well-rounded in what kind of topics you might choose. So now you're ready to choose your topic. Your topic is the MIT Emerging Technologies that are right here. You click on this. This is 2020. They have a list from 2015, 16, 17, 18, 19, but I am giving you 2020. If you find something in 2019 that you really want to do, I'm not going to stop you. I just want it to be easy to research because emerging technologies are usually easy to research. There's a lot of journals being written about things that are on the way, that are just about to come into fruition. So I'm trying to give you a topic that gives you a little bit of a step up in your research and your research methodology. you will find three major similarities or three major differences. Present them in a thesis statement. The three major differences between, let's say, what is something interesting in the technology realm? Well, I'll go to the thing. Okay, three major similarities between paralysis and paralysis devices and PCR gene editing are this, and this. So I have two technologies that are medical, and in this case, it might be nice to have some, the similarities between, if you're talking about paralysis and, for example, botnet learning. It's just a very different thing, and I don't know if I'm going to find three things that are going to fit as similarities or differences, because they're in such different worlds. It's a little bit difficult to match them up. That's why I try to find things in the same category sometimes. Two medical, for example, technologies that I find three interesting differences between is an easier paper to write than something that's aeronautical, something based in flight, and something that's based in, let's say, electron microscopy. It's like, of course, these are different, and I don't know if they're developed. Now, if you're really an expert in these things, maybe you'll find some similarities between the ways they were built, the kind of usage of electrons in order to speed up some process. You might be able to research and find something. But I'm telling you, it can sometimes be easier to go with something that fits in the same category when you're trying to research it. So if you're talking about transportation, find two transportation technologies. If you're talking about medical, two medical technologies. If you're talking about learning, two learning technologies. Sometimes can be a good way to go. I won't restrict you, but I'm telling you, sometimes it's easier to look into those specific details when you have those. So, select the two technologies, research the two technologies further. You're going to need to go out and find entire articles that are written on these. If you can find a book chapter, lovely. Go to books.google.com, type in the technology name, and see if there is a author out there that has written an entire book on this emerging technology that is a respected expert in the field. That would be great to have. And then you're going to analyze three similarities or three differences. And that's very important, right? You don't want to say two similarities and one difference after the assignment tells you to do three similarities or three differences. I get it. If the assignment didn't say that, of course you could compare and contrast. But because the assignment, we're trying to get you to write towards a prompt, we really want to see you read that, process it, and do what the assignment tells you to. For example, if you have talking about some technologies that will affect economy, politics, medicine, these are the kind of the topics that you can use to think about bringing together two different technologies. These are things that will really change our lives, and since they will change about our lives, you should really know more about them. And so I'm kind of trying to build something that's easy to research and something that might be important in your life moving forward. So you're going to have to do a little critical thinking after you identify the two technologies. You're going to have to do a little research after you identify them, but then you will need to start putting them together in a format, and that format is point by point. And so if you were talking about, for example, a medical technology, and you're talking about how it helps people, it helps recovery speeds, you can then talk about how both help recovery speeds in a patient. And you get some stats on the recovery speeds, and then you move on to what's another thing that it helps medically in the recovery process. Well, it not only helps the recovery speeds, but it also lessens the chance for them to have that disease again in the future. Well, that's great. This and this now add up, and so you have recovery speeds as the first point, and you talk about two technologies. And then you talk about future disease potential, meaning you have a lower disease potential once you've had these treatments, and you talk about both of the technologies. That's point by point. I talk about one specific point in one technology, and I compare it to another. Now I move to another point, and I talk about one technology, and I compare it to another. The final essay should be at least 3 pages. I've seen people use this checklist and not actually match it up. I have a clear, explicit thesis statement, and they check the box, and there's no clear, explicit thesis statement. The only thing I can tell you about is that if you check boxes over here and I don't see them in the paper, it makes me think that you are either a little bit more lost, and therefore I need to make certain that that point is really brought home in my analysis of your work, and I'm going to try to do so either way. But it also makes me think that you might not be able to process all the information needed for the class, and it makes me think that you might not be ready for the class. If you check that you have a clear, explicit thesis statement and you don't, that means one of the very basic building blocks of an essay is something you're missing. And even when I ask you to look for it, you don't know how to look for it. And that is, if that's where you are, make certain that you ask me questions or text me and say, well, this is what I have. Is this a clear thesis statement? Because I can help you at that point. On the other side of it, I just have to grade you. And when I grade people, I'm just looking to see if they know what they are learning along this process and whether they can use that in their paper. So this is How Do I Write the Comparison Contrast Essay. It is due next week. You'll notice, as I said, the structure of the class moving forward is changing a little bit. Go ahead and let me know if there's something about a week-to-week module system that scares you. I will try to make certain that I present it in a way where it is a little bit easier for you to go to your announcement every week and you can tell exactly what's expected of you that week. And that's what I'm trying to do moving forward. This is a crazy time, and I honestly, I understand that some people are having a rough transition. I'm just doing things in a way that I hope will make it easier on you, the student, and will make your time here more productive. From the hills above Castaic, this is Professor Gifford signing off.